strippers is a profession club. You like I'm running back? SA strippers is a profession club.
No, women empowerment club. Thank you.
Women Empowerment Club, thank you.
Continue.
Okay, continue. Women Empowerment Club.
All right, guys, so I stumbled across this fascinating discussion that went off the rails involving this angry woman arguing with athletes about whether or not NFL players are like strippers, right? Are athletes like strippers? Okay, and it went way off the rails when this angry woman basically compared being an NFL athlete to slavery. Okay, and in my opinion, it sounds to me like she's been listening to a little bit too much of Colin Kaepernick, right? He compares the NFL to slavery all the time. However, he claims that he is training 24/7 every single day to go be a slave, right? To get back in the NFL. Now, based off the preview video that I put in before this video, as you can see, this woman thinks that stripping is women's empowerment, right? So she's probably a feminist, right? She's probably a woke, angry feminist who don't need no man, right? And gets upset when people tell the truth, particularly men tell the truth about women who work in those professions, right? In which, they, make choices that aren't necessarily very respectable, okay? So I think that she's going to get angry here because she's going to get hit in a sore spot and she's just going to go off the rails because of that. So without further ado, let's get into it.
So the sound will go back to actually understanding what the artist is saying, being their
Lyrics.
substance with lyrical.
Yeah.
I mean, they're lyrical. I still can't understand the shit.
What does WAP stand for?
What does WAP stand for?
Wet ass.
That's what you making songs about the lyricist stuff. Huh?
What's wrong with that?
Come on, man.
Nothing.
What you mean what's wrong with that? Listen, it might not be anything wrong with it per se, right? However, that doesn't mean that it's respectable. Okay, doesn't mean that's respectable. Does not mean that you should be respected for it. Okay, but here's the thing: there is something wrong with it because songs like WAP and the artists that make those songs, people like Cardi B, Meg Thee Stallion, they promote a lifestyle to young women that has consequences for the young women that they promote it to, but not necessarily for them because they're rich and famous. Them going out there and spreading their WAP everywhere, that doesn't have all that many consequences. Okay, again, because they're rich. But the young 16-year-old girl that's listening to this, that is getting influenced by this, that is becoming sexually promiscuous because of this, that does have a negative effect on her because it incentivizes her to go out here and to participate in activities that have serious consequences, right? In which she ends up, getting pregnant at a young age, okay, probably by some bum, and she ended up becoming a single mother. And for the rest of her life, she will basically live off the government, right? She will be a strain on the system. The children that she have will also be a strain on the system because they're more likely to become criminals, okay? They're more likely to become negative contributors to society, right? They're likely to go to jail, go to prison, and cost taxpayers even more money, right? So when people act like there are no consequences to this whole, push for, WAP and being, sexually promiscuous and pushing this on young girls and all that stuff, those people are simply delusional, right? They're ignoring the impact that this has on impressionable young women who listen to this stuff and are influenced by this, okay?
If you're blessed with it, why can't you talk about it?
Why
can't women own their sexuality? Why do y'all have such a problem?
Is stripping owning your sexuality, right? Is that what it is? Owning your sexuality? I think it's actually having your sexuality exploited, in my opinion, okay? Because you may have ownership of it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you aren't being exploited to a certain extent. Because I guarantee you, if most of these women that were stripping could make the same amount of money doing something else, if they had the talent to do it, they would be doing it. They're only doing it because they have to do it, right? I'm pretty sure very few strippers out here stripping because they want to do it, right? They're doing it because they feel like they have to do it due to economic circumstances or the fact that, hey, they don't really want to put in the work to, gain some skills and to do other stuff, right? They don't want to work those hard jobs that men have to work, right? They don't want to become a plumber, an electrician, or anything like that. Any hard labor jobs that actually keep society running, they don't want to do that. They rather just, be a stripper, right? So yeah, if you want to be a stripper, that's all fine and cool, right? Capitalism. Okay, if you want to do that, that's fine. But don't say and try to act like, hey, I'm owning my sexuality as an excuse for you doing something that is degraded and exploitative. Don't sit here and try to make excuses for it and say it's owning your sexuality, because I don't think that's necessarily what it is, right? Owning your sexuality is not selling your body because you need money, right? That doesn't seem like ownership to me, because I guarantee you, if you ask most strippers if they like what they do, right, or if they rather be doing something else, I guarantee you most of them would tell you, yeah, I don't really like it. I would rather be doing something else. However, I'm doing it out of necessity, right? The old, stripping to pay for my college tuition, right? That stereotype comes from a place of truth. But hey, there are some out there that do like it. They love it, right? And for those women that love it and they happily doing that and they want to do that for the rest of their life, you can make the argument, hey, maybe they are owning their sexuality. But again, it doesn't make it respectable.
You want to own their sexuality, but you don't want women to own their sexuality. And that is the problem. Ooh. Well, how about this? NFL is modern day slavery. Make yourself better than a stripper.
Bruh, how you go from strippers owning their sexuality to NFL players being slaves? I don't get it, bruh. See, this is what happens when you get butt hurt, okay? When this man started talking about WAP, she got hurt in the soul, right? It hit her right in the soul, okay? She couldn't take it. So therefore, she had to jump to some ludicrous comparison, saying that the NFL is like slavery, right? She started thinking about Colin Kaepernick and his silly arguments.
NFL modern day slavery. Modern day slavery.
What
was the slave salary cap? What was the slave salary cap? He owned me.
Bruh said, what was the slavery salary cap? Right? What was the slavery salary cap? Okay. What was the slavery collective bargaining agreement? Right? What was the slavery's union? Right? Did they have any of that? Okay. I don't necessarily think that slavery was a choice, unless you're listening to Kanye in his argument, which is a whole nother video for a whole nother day. We're not going to listen to Ye today, but slavery was not a choice. Okay. For the most part, it was not a choice. Those people were slaves because they were forced to be slaves. Any job that you have the option to quit. Therefore, you're not a slave. Okay. And you're also getting paid, right? So not only can you quit, but you're getting compensated for your labor. Okay. Two things that the slaves, actual slaves, didn't have the luxury of. They didn't get paid and they couldn't quit. Okay. So again, to compare NFL athletes to slaves is ridiculous. It really is. It's very ridiculous. But again, this is not a surprise, because a lot of these people have been influenced by people like Kaepernick who say stuff like this, who put out these ridiculous comparisons. But yet at the same time, this man is training every single day, getting up at 5 a.m. in the morning to go be a part of a slave plantation, right? Again, make it make sense. Make it make sense.
And he paid me millions.
And how does it feel? And how does it feel?
Pay me millions.
Yeah, dude is getting paid millions, right? Millions. Slaves are getting paid millions, right? NFL players get paid millions, and she's trying to compare that to being a slave. Wow, incredible.
Slaves got paid too. Famous. And slaves got paid too.
Bruh, slaves got paid too. Oh my God. Again, this is how you know you've lost an argument, right? When you've lost an argument, you start saying all types of ridiculous stuff. Okay, you just start pulling all types of things out of your ass, right? That's how you know you lost an argument, because she is doing a whole bunch of ass pulls right now, right? That's what they call this type of stuff. They call it ass pulls, right? That's what she's doing, because she's hurt. She's hurt. Her feminist worldview has been attacked, and now she has just exploded with all types of toxicity, right? Toxicity has come out, and she's spewing it everywhere, okay?
Slaves got paid.
Slaves got paid
what
too.
What did they pay with?
With housing.
Ass
with housing.
And a
with housing.
Wow. Wow. So being forced to live in a house because a house kept the slaves alive, right? I mean, if your slaves are gonna be productive, you gotta put shelter over their heads, right? You gotta put clothes on their back. You gotta feed them, right? I mean, that's just a part of having slaves, okay? And she's trying to say that was payment. Wow, I'm gonna tell you something. If a white person made the arguments that she's making about how no, slaves actually got paid, they would say she's a white supremacist, right? They would call her a white supremacist if a white person made these same arguments. I guarantee you. I guarantee you.
Essay, what are you talking about?
She doesn't know what she's talking about. She's just talking, right? She has no clue what she's talking about. She's just simply trying to get as many points in as possible to save herself the embarrassment of the fact that she knows that being a stripper is not respectable. Being a stripper is not owning your sexuality. If she was confident in all those things that she was saying about strippers and how that's a respectable career and how they own their sexuality, you know what? She wouldn't be this upset. She wouldn't be this angry about it, right? She wouldn't. Because she would be confident in the things that she's saying, but she's not.
You didn't own your career.
I didn't own my career.
I don't think any football player does.
I own mine. I didn't follow any rules.
What that mean though?
I didn't follow the rules.
Did you own it?
Yes.
You paid fines. You paid over
Were they
$5
able-
million
were they- were
in
they-
fines in your
Great
career.
question. Were they able to control me? Did
I mean,
I
they took
follow
your money.
any rules? Were they able to
No, you
control me?
didn't follow any rules.
Thank you. Period. Case closed.
And that's why
That's
your
case
legacy
closed.
is
You didn't
different
follow
than
the rules,
others.
but you had to pay
Correct?
them to
Okay.
play your game.
I don't care.
So
I didn't play for the money.
every worker
They take-
at a store
they
is
take what-
owned by the owner because they get a salary to work at that store. The people that work at this restaurant, they're owned by the owner of the restaurant because they get a salary to be in the store.
There's-
NFL teams, you have a salary.
There's
to
much
play
more
football.
regulations on an NFL player than it is on someone that works
I
at a
know that
restaurant.
you keep changing the topic.
So she's moving the goalposts, right? This is what she's doing because she lost. Okay, so now she's saying, hey, you know, I initially made the argument that the NFL players are slaves because they have owners, right? Because they have bosses, they have people they have to answer to. So therefore they're slaves. So when hit with a counter argument to say, hey, you know what? I'm not sure if your argument holds up here because if what you're saying is true, then everybody that works a job is a slave, right? Everybody that has a boss is a slave. And then she moves the goalpost and says, you know, these restaurant workers, they're not slaves because they have more freedom than NFL players. And I'm like, okay, in what world do they really have more freedom than NFL players? Because these restaurant workers or any worker, if you do something on the job that's not acceptable, you're going to be fired, right? You're going to be punished. So they don't really have all that much freedom. NFL players, on the other hand, I mean, I feel like they have quite a bit of autonomy in the offseason. Now, during the season, yeah, it's pretty regimented. But during the offseason, they can do what they want to do, right? For the most part. But for the average everyday American worker, they don't get that luxury of having a whole off season where they don't have to work and get paid millions of dollars. So again, her whole freedom argument here is just bunk.
Time you get a check from somebody as a superior, you're owned by them. That's what you're saying.
Your check comes with a lot more limitations. I used to do the contracts. I know.
Okay, is that
Bruh. Everybody has limitations when it comes to having a job, right? And certain jobs are going to have more limitations than others. It is what it is, okay? Right? For example, when I worked in financial services, I had all types of regulations. I could not have a brokerage account outside of the firm that I worked, okay? Everything that I did from an investment perspective had to be under the company that I worked for because that was the rules and the regulations, okay? Everything that I did was monitored, okay? Even things I said outside of work was monitored. I had to be careful about talking to people about money. I could not just give people investment advice any kind of way, okay? Because there are rules and regulations and stipulations in regards to having a job, not just based off what you're doing as an individual, but also just based off what industry you're in. Everybody's subject to this stuff. Again, that doesn't necessarily make you a slave, okay? Because, again, at the end of the day, it's voluntary. You can always just quit. You can always just quit, and you're getting paid for it.
that's what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying is that your
So
checks are
the
different
Publix
than
workers and the Walgreens workers are owned.
No, because
They
guess
get a
what?
check. They get a check to do a job.
Because if you work at Walgreens, you can post whatever you want. You can say whatever you want.
No, you can't. No, you can't. If you work at Walgreens and you go on Twitter and go on a racist rant, you're probably gonna get fired. Okay, or if you're a Trump supporter, or if you're a conservative openly, you ain't get fired. Okay, so no, you can't say and do what you want just because you work at a place like Walgreens or whatever. Again, there's some jobs that, yes, because of what you do, you're at the lower level, they're not gonna be monitoring you as much. But again, that doesn't mean you can do what you want. It just means that you have a lot less responsibility, which means that you're not monitored as much. However, the higher up you get in a job or a corporation, you have more responsibility. You're more visible, right, in regards to representing the company and the brand. Therefore, yes, you're going to be subject to more limitations. Again, that doesn't make you a slave, right? That doesn't make you owned. But like I said, at the end of the day, everybody, whether you work for somebody or not, has to answer to somebody, right? I got to answer to YouTube, right? I have to answer to you guys. You guys really, to a certain extent, are my boss, right? But does that make me a slave? No, because I don't have to come up here and make videos. YouTube's not forcing me to do that. You guys are not forcing me to do that. I'm doing that because I want to do it. It's really that simple.
That's different. You didn't have that right. And you don't have the right to judge someone else for how they make money off of their body. You make money off of your body.
And professional athletes and strippers, same thing.
Why are you looking down on them?
I'm asking you a question. You can't keep just...
Now, look, here's the thing about the whole our professional athlete strippers thing. Look, I'm gonna put it like this. I think that that's probably the most valid thing that she said throughout this whole debate. Because what's the difference between a professional athlete and a stripper? Outside of the fact that professional athletes don't strip, right? Sexually strip for money. I don't think it's all that much of a difference, to be quite honest with you. They both use their bodies, right, in exploitative ways. I mean, NFL, you know, hey, you can get mashed potato brains, okay? Your body gets damaged and beat up. Your body gets used up. Same way strippers' bodies get used up, okay? They're both forms of entertainment. They're both entertainment. Now, being a stripper is more entrepreneurial, right? You have more autonomy over your work, over your hours and stuff like that. But, you know, hey, listen. Which one is more respectable? Definitely being an athlete. But I do think her strongest point here is there really that big of a difference? And I'm not necessarily saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying, like, I think in regards to making money off of your body, I think that is a reasonable comparison.
Changing and asking questions. If you take money from a superior, you're owned. If you believe that,
to some
it's
extent,
ridiculous.
To some extent.
Well, that's it. That's different
Absolutely.
ideologies that we think.
Absolutely.
If I'm getting paid to do a job, it's my profession.
And they're getting paid to do their job. So why isn't that their profession?
Job. Come on now.
Why isn't it respectable? Because you have a problem with women owning their sexuality. Just admit it.
Owning their
sexuality. It makes you uncomfortable.
All right, so
it makes you uncomfortable.
So no, like no.
Yeah, so that's where we're gonna be the end of this, right? I mean, essentially, again, if men say anything about, you know, women exploiting themselves and being sexually promiscuous, they say, oh, you're a sexist. Oh, you have a problem with women owning their sexuality. You want to own women's bodies, right? That's the same argument they make about, you know, pro-life, okay? You just want to own a woman's body. And it's like, no, nobody wants to own a woman's body, but let's not sit here and act like what you're doing is respectable and it doesn't have any consequences. And there's no negative effects on society, okay? So, yeah, I found that conversation to be fascinating. But let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.